Hello, everyone, and welcome today. My name is Judan Heath. I'm Executive Director of HTTP. HTTP is a 501c3 nonpartisan coalition and the leading voice on tech and telecommunications policy as it relates to Latino communities. Since 1996, HTTP continues to convene policymakers, industry leaders, and grassroots organizations to advocate for policies that promote investment, economic mobility, and digital security, ensuring Latino communities and the nation as a whole are fully equipped to compete in the digital economy. Through policy and research and advocacy with all stakeholders, HTTP ensures that businesses, entrepreneurs, and workers can compete and thrive in an increasingly digital world. And in this current innovative world with amazing tools at our disposal, we wanted to create an educational series to ensure our communities are ready. Futura Ready. And so in the first of our Futura Ready series, we want to explore how small businesses are adopting AI and other digital platforms to streamline operations and expand their reach. And we have such amazing speakers here to discuss how they're using AI and other digital tools, as well as talk about their successes and challenges. Please follow us on social media. We are at HTTP_policy on all social medias. Join the conversation. Tech para todos. Futuro ready. And now it is, and we are recording this panel. In case you signed up and missed it, this will be available after at a later date. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator today and our friend, Antonio Tirino, President and CEO of Hispanic Heritage Foundation.
Thank you so much, Judan. And thank you not just for the introduction, but thank you for your impact in leading HTTP every single day. So thank you for everyone for joining us. Good afternoon. I'm Antonio Tijerino with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Thrilled to moderate this panel. Always best when the moderator is the weak link on a panel. And that's certainly the case here. I have Roberto Martinez, founder and CEO of Braven's Agency and Google Coach. Laura Maristani, founder and CEO of Catch Skills, and Anthony Hinojosa, my tocayo, Vice President of Government and International Affairs of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So small business is the backbone for the U.S. economy, and technology is reshaping how they grow and compete. And this panel will explore how Hispanic-owned small businesses are adopting AI, automation, digital platforms to streamline operations, enhance customer engagement, and expand their reach. We'll talk about stories from Latino entrepreneurs using digital tools to scale, as well as discuss overcoming barriers to digital adoption, such as cost, knowledge, access, which I know is something that HTTP handles every single day, and I'm a proud board member, employee training, etc. This is a very important topic to our country and our community, but also to my organization as we're launching an AI effort with Prodigy and Minecraft, introducing and teaching thousands of students about AI across the country, and they actually would get credentialed as part of it as they complete the course. It's critical we are part of the development of AI, cyber, coding, and other fields, not only to grow with the technology, but also to develop the technology. It's also critical because 78% of all new jobs will be filled by a Latino over the next 5 years. Take that in. And that means that that community needs to be trained and collectively prepared to not just move our community forward, but our country forward. You have to involve our community in America's progress, economically, technologically, innovatively, or in any other way. But we also need to acknowledge that in states with the largest Hispanic population, 40% of the Latino workforce are at risk for being displaced with automation. So you can see there is a whole lot of lenses to take a look at this topic and this technology. And we're going to do that with this insightful panel. So let me start with questions. And as all of you, if you could give us a little bit of background on when you all started using AI within your businesses and how you use it today in your day-to-day operations or on a personal level. Let's start with Laura.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning if you're on the West Coast. Laura Maristani. I'm the founder and CEO of Catch Skills, as Tony mentioned. And just for a little bit of background context, our platform, Catch, helps folks capture all your learning moments and turn them into skills. So in and of itself, just from that angle, Catch is actually a technology platform that is built on AI. We had been thinking about building the technology, setting up our own databases, and having to go through all of the hard routes to do it. But with new functionalities and new platforms that have, during the last 2 years, really blossomed, and it has been much easier to be able to engage in creating skills first ways to do mapping of skills. And so for us, it's actually core to our business model. I don't think that we would be able to build what we're trying to build if it were not for AI. We see our platform as really riding that movement from not only engaging individual users in an easier way to understand how do you tell your skill story, but in addition to that, being able to do things like mapping what skills exist in an entire region, using that information to connect skills to small businesses, to businesses in those communities in a much more effective way. Imagine a world where if you're a small business, you could go in and know exactly the superpowers that exist in your community and know exactly the combination and where to go find them from day one. That you did not have to go and develop skills because they already exist in many of our communities. With tools like AI, we are now able to do those things. And so those are the things that we're looking at Catch. Individually, I actually run 2 businesses. And so from that day to day, I think at the time that I launched my first business, it was around the time when ChatGPT was starting to get some traction. So I've been an early adopter, I'd say, of the technology, and it has just been an immense tool in supercharging and helping to catalyze a lot of the work that I do. If you're any sort of small business, you know that nowadays, whether you're a restaurant or you're a consulting firm, your materials have to look a certain way. You have to communicate in a certain way. Your web presence has to feel and look in a certain way. And now there are tools that we can leverage to be able to really amplify and scale a lot of that. So I know my panelists also are going to talk about interactions with that, but that's just a little bit of a flavor of how it has really helped us not only launch, but scale Catch and some of our other businesses.
Thank you for that, Laura. It helps us all to know what you're doing as an entrepreneur, getting on the front end of all of this. So I appreciate that. Roberto, let's go to you, and especially as a Google coach and what exactly that means along with you being an entrepreneur and the work that you're doing with your agency.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. And thanks, Judah, for having me here. The pleasure. Sometimes you scratch your head a little bit. I get invited to such an amazing panel, folks. It's just an honor to be able to speak to you guys about a very pertinent issue that's affecting our community, which is the digitizing and the upskilling of our workforce. And that's how I see the AI space. So a little bit of background of who I am and what I do. As a digital coach, we dropped the digital, now we're just coaches. I've been doing this for 9 years for Google, going around the country, helping train and upskill our workforce and helping our entrepreneurial base understand how to leverage digital tools that Google provides at no cost to that small business through partnerships, specifically with chambers of commerce, nonprofits like yours, nonprofits like U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And we go in there, we meet them where they're at and what we want them to be. And we walk them through the entrepreneur, how to leverage Google tools and Google services at no cost to the entrepreneur. And the truth is, once you create those courses and those skills, that business owner is able to grow and scale. We ran some programs locally here in Southern California where we've been able to digitize and upskill small businesses and seeing increases of revenue from 15%, some outliers of up to 3x% in growth. And that has been very rewarding and colored my perspective as an entrepreneur, where I know that we as a community, if you provide us the training, we're able to grow and scale. Now, regarding the AI question, I run a digital marketing agency, and most growth for us has always been about understanding the needs of the small business entrepreneur. That's our focus. And post-pandemic, we realized the need to be online and connected. So right around 2023, 2022, we worked with government organizations and tech companies to create programming to help those businesses digitize and sell online. And that's when we really got introduced to AI and how you can leverage AI to really be a force multiplier for your workforce, specifically our agency. And our growth from that has allowed us to be able to identify opportunities for the small businesses using a CRM AI tool called Smarts that identifies the pain point of that small business and turns that into a strength by allowing them to catch up to where the market is and leverage some of those digital tools that they might not be aware of or have not been trained in to create that growth. And so that happened 2022, 2023. Right now, where I'm standing, we see AI as, again, a force multiplier and as a workforce development tool that allows us to reinvigorate our base when it comes to our workforce and allow them to come on board and to bring some of those jobs that might have been lost from nearshoring back to the United States. And so it's really exciting a time from our perspective. And we work with amazing partners across the country. And we're excited for what's to come. And having this type of conversation allows us to bring awareness of the importance of not just adopting AI tools, but adopting them in a responsible manner that allows us to be shepherds for our community.
Thank you so much. And that brings up a perfect segue into the work that Anthony and our friend Ramiro do over at USHCC in terms of their stakeholders are actually small businesses and suppliers. Anthony, can you answer that question in terms of when you all started using AI within your business or working with some of your constituents?
Yeah, thank you, Tony, and thank you to Judan and the HTTP family for having us here today. It's really an honor to be with this amazing panel and our great moderator to talk about this, because this is really at the heart of what USHCC does. We are the largest advocacy organization in the country, advocating for 5 million plus Hispanic-owned businesses across the country and the small business community at large. Our focus obviously is our Latino community, our Hispanic community, but really the work that we're doing is targeting all small businesses and ensuring that they have the tools and the tools to grow, scale, and become medium-sized, large, or corporations at some point in the future. And it's so good to hear Robert and Laura talk about how their businesses are utilizing AI, how they're getting the information out there to other businesses, because that's really a major driver for USHCC. How do we leverage our partners, our board, our corporates who are leaders in the AI space across the country, and having our partnership with Roberto and Braven, Google, Amazon, having these AI discussions and disseminating that information down to the small businesses through our 260 plus local chambers, through our different orgs across the country, it is vitally important to get their messages out and really get that education needed to help these businesses not only understand, but thrive in this new AI economy.
Thank you, Anthony. And the potential as a partner to have USHCC be able to get the word out on a lot of this technology is critical with your vast reach. So how does having this is more in terms of, I know what can be done with AI, but what is that starting point? What should small businesses have in place in order to use AI to its full capacity? Because a lot of times it's that starting point that can be a bit imposing and often almost mythological, in terms of right now you hear AI so much that you want to ground it into reality. And this time we'll go the other way around. Start with Anthony.
I think the most important component for small businesses is finding those avenues to educate yourself about what it means. How do you use it? What do I do with it? And again, we're so lucky to have great partners who can tell you how to do those things. But you have to ensure as a small business that you are utilizing the tools that are going to best make you successful, whether that's into data, which I know my panelists are going to go into, or is it just helping you get yourself organized on a day-to-day basis? Simple programming that can help do your schedule, Maybe it's translations for your business, up until those really, really complex issues of data and how you target specific audiences that I know that Roberto and Laura are going to talk about.
No, that's great. And so, Roberto, talk to us about it from you're a coach. So how do you coach these small businesses? And to be honest with you, nonprofits should be included in that conversation, because we run a lot of our nonprofits like a small business, and we're very entrepreneurial. And so how do we set ourselves up to be able to use these tools, and where do you access them, and that education part that Anthony just talked about?
Yeah, I like to tease some of this out, and there's a lot of little threads that we can pull on. From my perspective, it's operational excellence. We have someone here joining the call. David Segura has an amazing company, has grown it tremendously, has branched off, creating new companies and leveraging AI to provide operational excellence for any size business, enterprise to small business. So what does this really speak to is being able to do more with less, being able to leverage some of these AI tools to lower your operational costs as a business owner. So what do I mean by that? It used to be on the creative side of the shop as the marketing agency, or as a company, you need to hire a copywriter, a graphic designer, a videographer, a production studio. And now with AI tools, you could find someone that understands foundationally how to use some of these prompt generated AI tools like Gemini, like ChatGPT, that knows how to use Canva, that knows how to use Afterlife, and can bring multiple tools of AI together to help your business do more with less. And that's just on the creative side of the space. With the advent of avatars, you can really lower your operational costs when it comes to training your staff, when it's an onboarding, especially when it comes to the construction and service space. We've seen some amazing companies from across the country enter the US market and really help us operationalize some of these repetitive tasks that we're seeing day in and day out. And you could literally create an avatar of yourself, an avatar of your HR department, and have that avatar train and onboard new talent. And the efficacy of those trainings are at the same level as if you were to do a Zoom call with a real life human. Now, when it comes to the Google training, we have amazing online courses completely free to the community. Google has released AI Essentials, which is about a 10-hour course that can get you started on just having the basic understanding of how to use AI within your company, regardless if you're a product-based company or service-based company. Best of all, most of us are already leveraging and using AI, which aren't aware of it. If you use Gmail and you're typing your email address and it starts auto-filling your information, that's AI running in the background. If you run ads online, certain third-party platforms will scrape your information on your website and provide you recommendations. If you're ever on Netflix or on YouTube and you have recommendations coming in, that's AI running in the background. So we have been embedded and have been living AI for a couple of years now. Now it's time for our community to know how to leverage it. And it's through those trainings that are being provided at no cost to the small business owner. And it's through partnerships like HTTP and USACC that allows us to disseminate that information to as many small businesses as possible so they don't get left behind and we don't recreate a new digital divide.
Thank you for that, Roberto. Thanks for turning it into something that's tangible instead of kind of this amorphous, word that initials that we keep hearing. You really grounded it. And I think Laura will take it even farther in terms of the practicality of it being an actual entrepreneur that was started on AI and some of this technology.
Yeah, no, I'm right on 100% agree with Anthony's and Robert's comments. So let's start with this broadly, because I hear a lot, around technology being a sector of the economy. And I want to start this piece just saying that technology is not some side thing. It's not a sector of the economy. It's not a tool. It's the engine. It is really at the core of everything that you do. So if you're a restaurant owner, if you're a consultant, if you're a nonprofit, I love that Tony brought that up, because exactly, nonprofit organizations, if some of you are on the line as well, you are small businesses also. And so you really have to think that no longer is technology some side thing, even though it may feel overwhelming. I hear a lot of folks that say, even in the talent space, what do you mean you're bringing in tech talent or teaching people how to code if I don't even know how to use my phone? And the fact is that, a lot of us are there in different ways, shapes, and forms, but there are definitely spaces where we are already engaging, to Robert's point, whether you know it or not. So bringing it down to the practical and taking a look at what does that mean. If you're looking at not only AI, but technology as a whole, it's really in thinking through the different services, the different places where you're spending just a lot of tasks, as Robert said, in, repeated, all the stuff that's usually tedious. Those are really good places to start engaging with AI. That could be in things like in your accounting processes. It could be in consolidating. If you find yourself sitting on a lot of Excel files, then that's data, right? Anything that you have in a spreadsheet is information. It's data that your organization or business has. And those are good places to start as you're thinking through, how can I leverage a lot of these tools to help my business? But as you've already seen, if you have engaged with any of these tools, they require you to have certain inputs, right? Whether that's really good questions, which us as small business owners usually get really good at because we have to ask them over and over again. You have to get good at asking questions, because that's going to be the first step as you're also trying to engage. You also have to get really good at capturing data. So what happens, I think going back to Tony's example of nonprofits. A lot of nonprofit organizations are writing grants. They have a bunch of donors asking them to report back on the metrics. Yep. But the primary gap is not many of them are investing in platforms and technology to help them coordinate all that data. So the first step to a nonprofit engaging with AI is actually having a better CRM. And if CRM sounds broad, we mean things like Salesforce or HubSpot, places where you're doing customer and relationship management, where you're grabbing and holding information. That's actually the first step, because you can't really leverage AI to help you out in figuring out those metrics and telling your story if you're not capturing the data. So often in this conversation, what I would say is it's important to take a couple of steps back, because it's actually the answer to engaging with AI is a lot simpler. It's probably in another tool or resource that we can be engaging. Same with small businesses that, again, are having to turn a lot of what they're doing into storytelling, as Robert also discussed. There are a lot of really great tools, to do also a little bit of a shout out to Google. Notebook LM is an excellent resource if you're looking to tell your story in your voice, because I hear a lot of businesses like, oh yeah, but like Claude or ChatGPT, it doesn't really understand how we speak here and we do things in a certain way. Well, things like Notebook LM can go in and actually pull all of that together. They go into your folders. It kind of scrapes in and looks at your voice, how you talk about things, and it helps you craft your story that way. So if you're thinking about it, if you're imagining it, it probably already exists. But I'd encourage you to kind of think through what are the elements that you may be missing in your operational practices to really help you engage it.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. And I'm actually going to take that segment and forward it over to my team and to everyone in the nonprofit space. And let's keep in mind that we're the third largest sector in the country, the nonprofit sector. And I'm a proud board member of the independent sector that represents that. So I'm going to start this time with my man, Roberto, because the part about upskilling you mentioned earlier, and that is something that as an organization we've done. We've taught 100,000 kids how to code. We've worked in this space now in terms of these partnerships, in terms of pivoting into the tech sector, even for adult learners as well as youth. So how does having an adequate upskilling resources and workforce development in place help enable better AI adoption within the small business community? Just even in general, more about talent building and the importance of making sure that our workforce is going to be able to support the vision of a Lara or a Roberto or an Anthony in doing this work, or a Judan.
Love that, Tony. Let me back up a little bit and add some color here to what Laura said with the nonprofit space, because I have some great examples. Last year, we worked with Cameo, shout out to Cameo out of California. It is an organization that brings together nonprofits, specifically within the CDFI space. And shout out to Accessity, based out of San Diego. What they did is exactly what Laura just pontificated, and I agree with you, Laura. That's exactly what we should be doing. They leverage their database to understand the loans are the micro loans are going out to our community, our small business, our micro enterprises, and had a better understanding of who those customers are and what gets them to pay back the loan and what gets them to secure that loan. And they used AI to better understand the leading indicators to be able to find additional businesses that fit that parameter and create programming that allows the folks who don't fit that parameter to catch up so they can secure additional loans, so they can secure additional micro loans, so they can be competitive and start leveraging those loans to grow their company. And that was done through a lot of hard work, but more importantly, leveraging the existing data that they have in place, like get that in, get that out, bad that in, bad that out. So like cleaning that data, which takes time and money. They had resources. They had a grant of 6 figures to clean up some of that data by hiring a data analyst, and then running that through a AI system that they created to better understand what kind of business best performs for their type of microloans. So shout out to them. I appreciate the work they're doing. Laura, that's a great example. And I think that's extremely important for our nonprofits to realize you're sitting on the gold mine when it comes to your data. Clean it up first. Once you clean it up, leverage some of these AI functionality tools to help you make informed business decisions. It's just like Insights 101 again, right? But to your point, Tony, how do we do this? So in my space and in a lot of other spaces, accounting and whatnot, what you saw right around 2010 is nearshoring and offshoring from a lot of businesses. They saw big tech, and this is not a knock on big corporate or big tech, they saw them offshore some capabilities because it's a lower operational cost. And so it took these small businesses sometimes to catch up and realize, hey, if they could do it, we can do it. And let's take advantage of our competitive advantage and the strong dollar by hiring amazing talent abroad. Well, with AI now, that I foresee is going to start shifting and changing. If you could start training your workforce right now on how to leverage these AI tools and do the work of multiple people by one person, yes, that's going to offset some employment, but maybe not in your industry sector within the States, but rather in your team abroad. And the reason why is because there's so much training that's going on now around AI, and there's so much upskilling that's going on with AI that someone that you hired locally can now do multiple tasks and multiple actions that affect the bottom line. And so I kind of did a shout out to Google's AI Essentials, but Google has a slew of certifications that anyone can take, regardless if you graduated high school, college, and be upskilled in UX, UI design for website development, in IT, and e-commerce, and project management. And what that allows that employer to do is empower the workforce to do more with less. And what that means is that you have a competitive advantage over your talent. Now, there's a lot to be said about folks forcing people back into the office space. But there's something about human nature. We love interacting with people one-on-one. I love seeing Tony at the LBAN event recently. And there's something magical that happens when you interact with those folks. And that's based on culture, in my opinion. And leveraging and doubling down on culture is extremely important, especially as we become more mobile and commute and travel to different conferences and events. We need a workforce that understands our mission and vision in-house, that could communicate that to our partners, to our organizational leaders. And the only way we do that is by having them within the spaces and the communities that we live in. And that's something that I foresee happening in the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be a trend that's going to be changing. We're going to be moving back jobs to the States based on this upskilling opportunity that we have based on AI.
So it's interesting for you to say we love that human touch and then turn around and talk about AI. So I just have to point that out. I think it's a mix and some kind of a blend there. But also, thank you for the conversation around what you were doing with Cameo and CDFI space. I introduced you to Marla, for instance, and we were talking throughout the entire conference on the importance of AI in that sector, and working with some of their constituents. So I really appreciate all the work that you're doing. You really are a coach. Dale. All right, now we'll go to Laura. Go ahead, Laura.
I love everything that Roberto said, and for providing some of those examples, because I think in a lot of cases, these questions can feel very big. One of the things that Roberto touched upon was a lot of the activity and thinking through when we're engaging technology, when we're thinking about building that capacity, we were looking in many cases at other countries, because there's that the belief that it's potentially lower cost, etc. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. There are a lot of organizations that are developing talent in your community. The problem is that you're still, and many of us are still looking at those traditional pathways. Because technology can feel so big, often we think that we need a computer science engineer, someone with a bachelor's degree. And so that's the profile of person that we're creating in our minds that we need to come into our businesses to help support building our tech infrastructure and helping us engage with AI. And that's not true. There are a number of initiatives, whether it's through your local workforce programs, nonprofit organizations, other startups. There are a number of ways in which people are being upskilled and reskilled into these careers. In fact, I was at a panel with Boeing not so long ago, and they were saying how a lot of their engineers that are coming in, they have to retrain through their own upskilling programs because they're just not coming in with the skills that they need from college. Is there a space, and are there jobs through which we have to look for bachelor's degrees and traditional certifications? Absolutely. But for the majority of tasks that we're talking about here, and the things that really small businesses are going to need to engage with, you don't. And I would encourage you to look to organizations like Tony Tijerino's HHF Hispanic Heritage Foundation, and other organizations like Black Girls Code, and tech startups like IronHack. All of them are developing programs. Many of them are free. So they're not only training your local workforce, but for free, in many cases, they will engage with you to seek talent to be able to hire folks from their pipelines, from their programs that they're putting together. And it is not true, again, that it is more expensive. So that I would encourage folks to really think about how you shift, how you perceive and think about what that profile of a tech person is. And then the same as Robert mentioned, within your own workforce, to seek opportunities for them to grow and learn and really to engage with these skills. That's the reskilling part. There are jobs that are going to transition, but that doesn't mean that a lot of folks are going to end up unemployed. It means that as employers, as businesses, we really have to engage with upskilling them and helping them engage meaningfully with technology. Like I said, there's a lot of resources. I know organizations like the Chambers of Commerce are also having these conversations and are educating their membership on them. And I would encourage you to seek those resources. But one quick tweak before I, quiet myself is just think about how you're putting together that job description. And if you need any help, just come to Catch, because that's exactly what we're doing on our platform, looking at the skills and not what we think the profile of that person should look like.
That's the great name for your for your company is catch, because you really do catch all of this, and we appreciate that. And thank you for shouting out also the work of Black Girls Code and Girls Who Code and Hispanic Heritage Foundation's work, because if you start earlier, there's going to be a whole stretch of comfort leading into the workforce, and the reskilling will not be as painful as it is when they already have some skills and accreditations and credentials as they get out of middle school or high school and into the workforce at some point. So what those options are. So let's turn that over. When you mentioned, Laura, the importance of the chambers of commerce working with their members, and Anthony, can you talk a little bit about what USHCC has been doing in terms of upskilling and workforce development for better AI adoption with small businesses?
Absolutely. From the national level, introducing them to our businesses, our corporates, our partners who are in this space is really the best way for us to get that information down to the local chambers, hold events with them, do webinars such as these, and really give them the tools to show their members how AI workforce development are so important. The Laura and Roberto are making these amazing points about how we have to train our people, and even you, Tony, the initiatives that you guys are having are really the key to all of this. Whether it's youth, whether it's people in the business range, older, it doesn't matter. With the important thing is that getting the information to them and really giving them this opportunity is what's so important. I love what Laura does at her company. Don't look at the resume and what they're, what degrees they have or whatever. What are their training? What are the skill sets that they have that can give our communities, our businesses, the best impact and the best bang for their buck? And, I applaud the work. We keep giving Google the shout outs, but they're doing amazing work and training the next generation of workforce. And with so many, federal governments, or the federal government, there's a lot of people losing their jobs and downsizing, and we all understand it, but they need somewhere to go. We need to be sure that we're giving them the information as well, even if they are a little bit older, even if they aren't, tech savvy, if you will. Somebody like me, I'm not tech savvy. I'm lucky that I have such great panelists that are, but we have this opportunity to give them those educational tools and give them the resources to utilize those skills to grow what is the global race in AI and the AI economy. So, as long as we can keep pushing and giving them the tools, I think everybody's going to be all right.
I always say that the starting point is that Theo or Tia that you're walking down the street with as a little kid, and they see a toaster that somebody else discarded, and suddenly they're able to fiddle with it and it's working, and you're toasting bread at home. That is a direct line in terms of being adaptable and critical thinker and being able to support a technologically proficient brain. And so I don't look at anything else but the fact that somebody's a problem solver, and our community are the greatest problem solvers in history. So, but I do think when we talk about upskilling and workforce development, along with the importance of AI that we've been talking about, we also have to talk about job displacement, job outsourcing. How are you tackling these issues? And this time I'm going to start with Laura as well, because Roberto was mentioning how, we've all been mentioning, this makes you more proficient in terms of, and efficient in terms of, as a nonprofit or as a small business or as a company. But part of that is that you're shrinking your workforce in order to be more proficient. So how do you manage that balance, Laura?
Yeah. And, we talk a lot about, obviously, my platform Catch. I've been in this space for over 20 years and also see a lot of those trends and also a lot of the anxiety with the transitioning economies and what is happening there. Yes, there are certainly going to be jobs that are going to go away. Like that has already been happening for a while. And we're seeing it in communities across the country. But simultaneously, we're also seeing some energy and commerce moving back into some of the communities that we could perhaps talk about examples of where those transitions have occurred in the last 20 years. And part of that is, to the point that we had made before, there have been a number of investments in reskilling and upskilling local populations to be able to respond to the current shifts, right? Which again have to do with the fact that our economies are tech economies. There's no economic development in and of itself. There's technology as a part and a through line of all of that. And so the communities, there's a lot of mayors, there's a lot of cities that have really taken on that challenge. They have brought on not only more collaborative thinking, engaging organizations and businesses in what are the true needs of communities and how to build and upskill for that. There have also been a number of investments in, scaling things like apprenticeships, on-the-job training. So we are seeing the transition, but like I said, simultaneously, we are seeing opportunity. I used to work at a company where we had a lot of folks that would come in from transitioning careers. So seamstresses that were learning how to code, folks that worked in retail that were learning how to code, and they were taking their salaries from around 25,000 on average upwards 60K plus, right? So there is a lot of opportunity. And like I said, look to the organizations on the front lines. Often the nonprofits in your region, the workforce providers, your workforce investment boards, they're going to be your better partners in whether you're an employee who finds themselves in that transition and not so comfortable in that transition. How do you access the skills that you may need for that future economy, for that present and future job, and as a business to be able to value and connect to those folks that are being reskilled and upskilled. Because again, because of that transition, their resume is not going to look like what you think it may look like. But again, that doesn't make them any less capable and in touch to come and bring their talent and help you scale your business.
Great points, Laura. Roberto, and then we'll have Anthony jump in, and then I want to get to an audience question before we wrap this up because we're getting closer. So go ahead, Roberto.
Listen, I call it the great restructuring. This is what's going on, and the cities, the counties, and the states that move fastest and adapt sooner, the restructuring of the workforce are going to win out. It's happening on the micro level with micro businesses, small businesses, where they're testing out new employees to see what fits the need with the skill set. And, you said something great. Our community is resilient. Our community is agile. We know how to pivot. And so what we're learning, we're flying the plane as we're building it because we're bringing in talent and we're identifying, hey, this is our pain point. Can you leverage some of the technologies that are in play right now to see if you can assist us with those pain points? The truth is, you're still going to need the human in the loop, as they call it in AI. No matter how much I optimize our AI CRM tool to create a report for that small business, someone needs to be there to interpret that report and implement that report. So we need to find a new skills for new employees, and the cities, counties, and states that implement this and allow us through tax credits, to lowering of employment laws, to restructuring of employment laws are going to win out in the new economy. We work very closely with our local city here in California to provide them feedback on the pain points that we experience as a small business and identifying the new tools and skill sets that we need to make it successful so we could keep hiring locally at the local level from community colleges and from the Cal States and universities in our neighborhood. Now, we haven't embarrassed the riches because we sit in California. And California has one of the best Cal States and UC systems in the nation, if not the world. That being said, we still look for talent on the community college level, and we are looking to partner with cities that are able to lower that tax burden for employees like ourselves to bring in those people and provide them a problem statement, provide them certain type of upskilling courses like Google, like Microsoft, like Amazon, that has these courses online, so they could solve the future problems that we have in our business. So that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm seeing, a great opportunity for HCTP to step in, a great opportunity for U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to step in, to provide that voice to us as small business owners by providing scale, going up to them and say, hey, listen, we have an amazing program that we can bring to you guys to help you hire locally, grow nationally. So that's what I'm excited about. That's why I work very closely with HTTP and with Tony. And that's what I'm looking forward to happening in the next couple of months, if not couple of years, especially with the new restructuring of our current economy, because of the current changes in the administration that the administration is implementing.
And we need your guidance as we go through this. Same with Laura's and Anthony's and Judan's and everyone else. I'm going to ask Anthony something real quick because I want to sneak this question in before I go to the audience question. But Roberto kind of touched upon it in terms of different administrations and at this critical time. How can federal policy help small businesses and organizations like USHCC when it comes to the resources and policy driving some of the adaptation of AI and resources?
Yeah, let me tell you, USHCC believes that there is a bipartisan solution that not only, would blanket the nation, but would give businesses the opportunity to make it easier to do business, to get resources, to get employees from other states, other areas, without jumping around. If we continue with a state-by-state basis, Tony, that you're going to have to know every single different rule, regulation, and that's going to slow up your business. That's going to slow up your progress. That's going to slow up your scaling. But there is a way, and we work very closely with the new administration, with the new Congress, to try to figure out how we can not only protect things like data privacy, but give small businesses the opportunity to compete with the larger corporations and level that playing field and be sure that they have every advantage that every other company does to grow, scale, and to be successful in business.
Yeah, no, Anthony, that's one thing USHC has been very consistent about. You are pro-business, punto. You don't really take sides and you don't get political. You're just pro-business. So we appreciate that consistency. All right, I am going to go to the chat for the last question. There's a few here, but there's one. Is there a surprising, untraditional sector you've worked with that is utilizing AI in a successful way that small businesses can look towards as an example?
I'll jump in first. The answer straight up is no, because Laura and Roberto made it very clear that every industry is using it, whether they know it or not. And that to me is the vital backbone of all of this. Whether we know it or not, better or worse, everyone is using it now. Every industry, whether you're baking cakes or you're building rocket ships, we're using AI and we're doing it at a very high level. And thanks to your work, Tony, Laura's work, Roberto's work, Google, Amazon, so on and so forth, we're only going to get better and stronger at it. And so if you're not in it, using a tool right now yourself, get into it, jump in, be part of the movement, and be part of this economic engine that's growing the U.S. economy.
And I am just going to ask one more question because Brooke from MMTC asked a very good question, is as a small business or a nonprofit that are getting online and putting vast amounts of data into AI systems, and in a world where we hear about data breaches every single day, cyber attacks, ransom demands, etc., it seems that there are also security risks associated with many of the benefits. Additionally, it also seems like there's a risk of lack of AI oversight, which goes back to what we were just talking about policy-wise, which could lead to AI falsifying data. How can businesses combat security risks and libel risks? Cybersecurity, of course, is a very important topic as well, but I will turn that over to Laura and then Roberto, if you want to take a stab at it.
It's a great question. I mean, I think we are all still learning where all the boundaries of this are. And there are a lot of different places and different threads where we can be having that conversation. So it's an excellent question. I think for now, as we figure it out, at the broadest level, we're seeing that policy leaders, elected officials, and others, they're still in learning mode as well, right? at the state, local, federal level. And then on the practical side of things, organizations and businesses are also having to deal with different versions of what that means. So I'd say for businesses on the panel and more from that angle, you do need to sort of sit down and really think through what are going to be your AI policies for your team and creating a balance that makes sense for your organization. That is going to look different on a case-by-case basis. At the state and local level, there is obviously a lot of activity that is happening there as well. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming year or so. States also try to look at what are the parameters for them, how are they sort of dealing with some of the problems, and we will see, right? We will see challenges that arise. We will learn from those challenges, and I think that's going to help us as we kind of think about, are there things at the federal level then that need to be considered? Honestly, I think we're still too early. Like we've been engaging with the technology for a bit, but we're still in the early stages of understanding its potential. And as we do that, I think we'll continue to see where we sort of have to, think through parameters and some of those boundaries.
Good point. Roberto, you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, just very briefly. I think I segmented out into two pieces of a question. First one, if you're using AI tools, do you trust them? No, do not trust AI tools. There's options to opt out so that the AI tool is not trained by your data set. Now, there's the opposite side, which is you're creating your CRM tool, your database on the cloud, whatever AWS, whatever tool you're using. And then you have to come to Jesus' moment of how you want to leverage that data and how you communicate that to your prospective and current customers who you're capturing that data from. So I think those are two different conversations completely. But the first one is, if you are using the tool, definitely, if you're not comfortable with the information that you're training that model on, you can opt out. Now, how much do you trust that opt-out button that you can select? Completely user beware as always. And I'd just like to touch on a second piece that Tony, you and Tony, Jose mentioned. There's been an executive order back in March 17th that cut the NBDA, and it hurts us, but it also provided an opportunity for us. And so I'm thinking, what a good opportunity for Hispanic Heritage Foundation and USACC to create a workforce program and get it out there to small business nationally. I think it's tough what we're living through because of so much change, but it offers opportunities for new players to step into that void. And so if anyone wants to cut a 7-figure check to get that program started, I'm here for it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it afterwards, because we have partnered with USHCC and LBAN and others. And it's important that we all work together. And I can't wait to brainstorm with Laura and with you, Roberto, as well as Anthony and Judan, in terms of how we can work together. And anybody that's in our audience right now, we are up for anything that moves our community and country forward. So thank you all very much for being on this important conversation that I am going to take and send out to everyone I know, because it's really important information that we need to have, arm ourselves with as we go forward. As a small business or as a nonprofit or as a coach or as anyone that runs a membership organization. So thank you very much, Julian, for the opportunity. And I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Roberto, Anthony, and Lara. And thank you to our participants for coming today. We will be packing these up and recording because it is useful information. And I hope people really step away that, this is the beginning of the conversation. We are here to help provide resources and point you guys in the right direction. We're here to work with industry, to work with other nonprofits and other small businesses, and take those concerns and those questions and those successes back to industry, back to policymakers, and say, this is how our community is moving the needle. This is how our community is embracing this technology and spurring economic growth for each other. And this is how we also stay in community with one another. I think each one of the panelists talked about that, none of these innovations are done without human connection. They're not done without each other and in community. And so I'm so grateful for that conversation, and know that and everyone also, had their, just like any useful tool and piece in the engine, there's a transparency need, there's a development need, there's a workforce. So we're all working together toward this goal. And I'm so grateful for these experts and friends. And I hope you guys continue to come back to HTTP and along with their resources to learn how you can continue to scale and we can continue this conversation and continue to be fruitful already. So follow us at HTTP_policy. Thank you again to all of our panelists, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week, and we will talk again soon. Thank you guys.
I am not like them or the others. Don't back down, I don't run for cover. I'm a boss, top dog, no time for beginners. Only winners. And the crowd goes. I go faster. I go harder. I get smarter. I'ma take you to the future. Hold back. When I get in my zone, don't get mad. It's just like that, yeah, it's just like that. And the crowd goes. I get smarter.
Whoa.
I'ma take you to the future. I go harder. I'ma take you to the future.